radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
The power.
Conversation.
It could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
Conversations that matter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to INCRadio Chatline. And today, I'm your host, Lionel, here in Anne Arundel in Maryland, here in the East Coast of the United States. And today, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of living on your own. Me personally, I kind of just moved on away from family and to live on my own. But don't worry, fret not. I will not be the only voice you'll be hearing today. I have a couple of others with me on air today. I have EJ, if you want to say hi.
Yes, hello, everyone. Awesome, John Villacruz, live here from Rockford, Illinois, here in the District of Great Lakes. It's good to see you all there in our live chat. Yes, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
I'm actually looking forward to learning more because like I said, I just recently moved away from home. So going to our other, I guess, panelist, we have Melvi. You want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome back to our Chatline broadcast. If this is your first time tuning in with us, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we're waiting, or we cannot wait actually for this topic because we have a lot to share with you and hope you learn from each one of us. All right, back to you, Lionel.
Thank you so much, Melvi. And of course, for those of us in the live chat, we have a voice for you. We got Tony on as, I guess, your voice for today. So whatever you all type into the chat, she'll relay to us some of the messages coming through. Now, for, I guess, my panelists, have you or anyone you know who have quote unquote, I guess, left the nest?
Yes, I have. Back in my 20s, when I transferred at Sac State University in Sacramento, I was there for a whole year, and I did live on my own and learned a lot of things. How about you guys? Have you done it?
For me, I can't really count. I don't count it as living. Like leaving the nest, because I did, leave like my parents, but I was living with my grandparents, so I don't know if that counts per se. But I am planning sometime in the future, when the opportunity, a job opportunity in particular comes, then I might consider it. What about you, Lionel?
Well, I recently moved from California, on the west coast of the US, to Maryland, which is on the east coast of the US, also farther north and much, much colder. Um, I think when I first moved here, there was a winter storm. So I was kind of prepared. Fortunately, I have made friends on this side of the coast. So they sort of like, hey, you need this. You need a what is it called? A snow brush. It's like, the snow brush, is it really that bad?
At least a small one, you need it on your car.
Yeah, I got those. I think when I first moved here, I finally realized the what is it called? I finally realized the importance of a heated steering wheel. At first, I was like, I'm in California. It's like summer all year round. Why would I need something else hot?
Yeah, you do. When the weather's colder, you're at, right?
Heated seats,
Oh,
heated
yeah.
steering wheel. It's
Heated seats, heating steering wheel.
Wow.
Oh, it's
I would love to experience that. I just use the heating pad when I get cold.
yeah. So actually, I wanted to ask Melvi. since you mentioned that you moved in your 20s to, was it Sac State?
Yes. Yeah.
What was, I guess, where did you move from? And I guess what was like the experience, if you could tell us a little about that?
I moved from here, of course, from the Central Valley or from Visalia, California to Sac State. So imagine the valley life versus the city life, right? So aside from, of course, sometimes the crazy driving on the freeway, the independence of not knowing anyone up there, and just being in a place where it's basically like almost a fresh start. It was very challenging at first, but I love the idea of being independent to where I have now my own private space. I am now, or I've learned to rely on myself without having to rely on others. And of course, going to school and then going to church as well over there. I've made a lot of friends. It was a great experience. And at first it was hard because of course, I'm sure Lionel, you would know how this feel where sometimes, especially when it gets cold and you're far from your family and your friends, right? We get lonely at times. We want to be able to spend time with other people that we know and miss, but unfortunately, due to the distance or our own busy lives, we have to set a time. And sometimes you don't know when that will be. And when you plan the time, sometimes it's long of a ways wait. So those
Mhm.
things I've experienced moving from the valley life to the city life. And honestly, compared to being here, I mean the island life back then was just chill. Then when we first moved to California, even though we're in Visalia, I said, wow, this is so different from being in a small island to a big state. So we had to really be flexible and adaptable and just learning the culture, just the environment itself, not only the weather but also the external factors. So not only was I compelled to make some adjustments within me, but also observe my surroundings and the people that I either go to school with or that I got to know and the people around me. So those were the things that I've learned.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I kind of took for granted was cooking my own food. I so when I first moved here, I was like, okay. Within the first month, I started like, what can I cook? The easiest thing that I can think of, I could cook is I think sinigang. For our non-Filipino viewers, it's like a hot and sour soup, depending on how much of the mix that you put in. But oh my gosh, being able to cook for your own food, I think was, you know, I have cooked for myself before, of course, but having to cook like without much help, being able to, I was gonna say manage my time, but it took about twice as much time as it should have taken. I think the cook time says like, oh, you cook for you. This is only gonna take like an hour, 60 minutes. I took like 90 minutes to 2 hours. But one of the things that I did, I guess, learn was try to find a way to manage my time more. Um, and I guess so for one of the things that I didn't like was like what you said, Moby, is the, I guess, longing for company. Because when you move to a new place, you don't really know people. You got kind of have to put yourself out there. Fortunately, I was able to make friends with my roommate. That was very fortunate. He was able to introduce me to, you know, a full friend group, especially is since we're here at church. You know, we go to from one place to another. Um, and actually, one of the comments from Renz Diaz says, "Good thing there are roommates. Good thing there are roommates. A big help. I'm pampered at home, and I learned a lot, especially taking care of myself, doing chores specifically. Oh, chores. So, okay, back when I was home, yes, I did do chores, but now I'm living on my own. I got to do all the chores. Yeah. So he also says, I do laundry by hands and I just wash what I will wear the next day. Oh, laundry. That reminds me. Laundry is something that I kind of need to also be more on top of. Um, okay, I have a question for you. If you guys don't, if this isn't too personal, what is your like threshold? If you're like, hey, I need to do laundry.
If I don't
I
have
said
anything
it.
to.
Oh, sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, Melody. Go ahead, go ahead.
Let's go with he. I saw him unmute first. Sorry, Melody.
It's okay. Go ahead, EJ.
Well, if I'm running out of things to wear, specifically, like undershirts, because like with me, I wear shirts and then like a button up, like that's like kind of like my usual wear. So if I'm running out of like one of those items, I'm like, okay, I need to do laundry. I haven't, as I said, I'm still living with my parents, but they're like kind of like slowly teaching me as well. Like they say, if you're living in on your own, like they're trying to teach me like skills like cooking. My mom's teaching me how to do like my laundry. She's advising me, like when to do my laundry, just so I don't waste electricity and water. Because I know, and I'm like, if she, I would say this, if she didn't give me those advice, I might be wasting a lot of a lot of water and a lot of electricity, like doing my laundry. Because before I thought you have to do it like every other day. Because you have a
That's
washing machine, right? If you
that's
have
a
a washing
lot of
machine,
water and
yes.
electricity.
But I didn't know like you could do it like once a week if you're, I don't know, if you're uh like, cause like right now she's teaching me how to do it like once a week and spacing out like my outfit, so like I can do it that way, so I'm not wasting a lot of not just water and electricity but also my time, you know. But
How about
yes.
you, Melvi?
I do mine when I'm really busy, at least once a week. When I'm not, I do my due diligence to do them twice a week. And I have two baskets, one for the dark colors and one for the light. So I know, but which one's already getting piled up more. And I don't like them piling up for some reason because it takes time, even though we have washer and dryer now that we use. Because before, I mean, I still wash some of my clothes by hand, the ones that are very delicate. And so they take time to do when you're sitting there waiting. So while I'm doing laundry, I'm cooking. I'm multitasking. I don't like sitting and not doing anything else. Or let's say when I was in college, I would do laundry because I was actually on my own. I didn't have any roommate. So I had to learn how to cook, I had to learn how to clean. I had to do everything on my own. So it was nice because I was able to discover a lot of things about myself, what I'm capable of. And up to this point, I continue to hone those skills, especially when it comes to cooking, Lionel. You'd be surprised that just like anything else, like playing sports, for example, just practice, 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 and you'll get quicker, like just like that in a couple of you know months or so. So that's me. That was my experience.
Yeah. For me, um, for laundry, I can kind of relate with you, EJ, about once you start running out of the nice, I guess undergarments,
For sure. It's
like
in the
like
laundry.
like you know that you have your good set and you have your not so good set, like the
I
older set.
will wear it. I will wear it if I have to.
Like it's how when you're driving and then the light comes on where you're running out of gas.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the where you start wearing the old set. That's I see. Okay, I see we have another panelist joining us. We have Nate. You want to introduce yourself and maybe you have something to say about this?
Yeah, Nate Russell, and I never had problems keeping my clothes washed. I did have a very, very big problem folding them afterwards, though.
Mm,
Like, I think I know when I was living by myself, they would just pile up somewhere, either on like a chair or the couch, or like on the corner of a bed. And I think that pile, clothes would just go in and leave whenever. So yeah, I never had a problem not having clean clothes, but I did definitely have a problem folding them and hanging them. So
I have a saying for that. Like when like when my mom gives me my clothes, and I was like, if I don't fold these now, if I don't endure this now, I'm gonna suffer this later. I'm looking for for a specific shirt. I'm gonna endure this now, so like I can just enjoy it later.
I hated the coin laundromats. I hated those because like for one, you didn't know if the thing was actually going to work until you actually fed your quarter into it, and then by then it was too late. It would just take your money, or like you would run out of quarters so you can wash it, but then you couldn't dry it. So you're like, great, I think I gotta hang this in my bathroom now. So it is definitely worth it if you're living on your own to have a place, with its own washer and dryer at the very least.
Yeah, I think the place that I moved into, not think, I know that the place I moved into, fortunately, we did have an in-unit washer and dryer, um, which was a great deal. Trying to find, like when I was trying, one of the things that I was like looking for was one, where are the Asian grocery stores? And two, how am I going to do my laundry? Because I think down the road there is one of those coin laundromats, but I, I would much prefer to do it in my own, like in my own apartment here. Um, I guess for everyone else in the panel, like what are some other things to consider before people should move to live on their own?
I would
I
want to
think
know
for
this.
me, oh, go ahead, EJ.
Oh no, sorry. I was just
Or
commenting.
instinct.
I was just commenting that I want to hear. I want to hear this as someone who's like planning sometime in the future. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
When it comes to these things, depending on your or our personal circumstances, right? Nowadays, I think it's so much harder than back in the days because right now, if you don't have either a job or sufficient funds to even help you move or relocate, you're going to be in trouble basically financially. So setting that aside though, now if you do have that, I think you have to be mentally prepared, emotionally be prepared, and physically be prepared, because if this is what you're really wanting to do, then you have to stick by that decision, because you don't want to do it and then regret it later. And I get it that you can always retract or go back to where, let's say, you move somewhere else and it didn't work out, you can always come back home, right? Which is also an advantage, because then you'll discover also that maybe, just maybe, that wasn't the right time yet. So with me, when I was younger, I was more I was more like, I think I can do it, I'm ready. But when I got there, I wasn't. I still had to do a lot of things, but I just wanted to get out. That was me then. I wanted to get out. I wanted to explore life. I didn't want to be stuck here. And so I did what I did. I chose that path, learned a lot from it, definitely, and realized that in life, we really have to think twice about every decision we make, because not only our lives will be affected, but also the other people who care about us will also be affected, because nobody wants to see a person either be sad or regret what they've done. But in life, though, as we all know, it is filled with uncertainty, and the only time that we're able to learn and know if it's right for us is if we try it. So whatever you choose, whatever it is, the path that you want to take in life, we hope that it'll all work out for the best, and do your best and let God do the rest, as I always say, or as we always say, right? And pray for it. So you know what, you got to pray for it too. You can't just rely on your own. So sometimes we act with impulse, especially when we're a lot younger. We think we know it all. We think we can do everything. We think we're too smart or too good for this. But then in the end, sometimes we need a little bit more guidance than that. And life's experiences will definitely teach us a lot of things when it comes to making decisions in life. So that's what I've learned.
Yeah, and I had to live on my own twice in my life so far. First, when I graduated college and I moved away from my parents' house, and then the second time when I got a job 4 hours away from my family after I was already married and I had a kid. I had to live on my own again. Both situations were because of a job. So first time I moved out was graduated from college, was applying. It took 6 months, and the only job I could find was 9 hours away in Houston, and I was living in Florida at the time. So it was a situation where I got hired, and I was like, all right, throw everything into my car and drive there, and then take the first apartment that will take me in. So that was that situation, and I guess one thing wasn't really prepared for was like how quiet it is when you're living on your own. It's like a different form of quiet. Like there's no one there, there's no one making a noise, but no one's going to be coming around either, to make any noise. So that's something you have to deal with. In my situation though, I was really wanting to, get my first career going. So it wasn't too bad. I was really motivated at the time and I stayed busy working out, enjoying the big city that I'd moved to. I did get really, really sick though the first year I moved away, probably from my terrible dieting habits that I adopted, when I first left home. Um, and that was really scary because, you're really, really sick at home and nobody can bring you anything. You're kind of just there on your own. So that was a really scary time of my life. So that's something you have to consider too, like also like your support networks. So fortunately, as being members of the Church of Christ, we do have uh, a support network wherever we go. So, I had, friends and the brethren, who are in the local congregation, who could help out because I had to get surgery. And so they were able to picked me up after surgery, and then they took care of me for a while, even though I said I was fine. I was not fine, so I'm very thankful that there were those who were looking out for me. The second time I moved away on my own to get another job, it was a very different experience because I was very focused, and I could call my family back home every night, and so yeah, even though this topic, the first thing that comes to mind is like when you're single and you're living on your own, but it could still happen. And there's lots of married couples who, they're trying to find a better opportunity, and they do have to live apart. Um, Fortunately, I was only away from my family like half of a year, and then I brought them up here with me. So so yeah, those are things you got to consider. It's just loneliness. That's a very real psychological and mental issue that you have to be prepared for.
Yeah, it is like when you mentioned that we have that support network as members of the Church of Christ, being wherever we go. I was fortunate enough that my roommate has been so helpful because one, he's also from California, also from the District of Orange County, where I used to be from, and it it kind of really felt like a home away from home, and like being able to meet new friends, being able to meet new people that would be able to where having hearing them say, um, just let us know what you need, because if you're here, then you're like family to us. And hearing those words are very comforting, especially for me, who this was my first time moving away from home. And speaking of home, there is a comment again by Renz. It says, I guess this is something for all of us to, I guess, who would want to respond to it. is how about the feeling of being homesick? He says that he was living far from, or they were living far from their family, but sometimes homesickness visits you every now and then. Uh,
Honestly, when I was living with my grandparents, I think like a good couple of times I actually kind of cried because that was like the first. I was in high school, okay, I was in high school, and that was the first time where I was away from my parents for like that long. It was almost like an entire year, before they kind of like were moved like closer. So like for that sort of like that first year, I was like I realized how like different it felt like when your parents are not, just so close by. Like I realized that I can't just call to them for help, whenever I need it. I can't just hug my mom whenever I want it because they're living so far away. So like I said, I'm considering, like of course I want to be able to establish myself as well. But that's also something that I'm dreading because I know I'm gonna feel homesick if I move away, and that's one of the things that I'm still scared of. I'm still scared of like happening. But
yeah, I moved away from home just this past November, and I was by the time like sort of when my company that I now work for, they sort of have like a company break during the winter for about for about a week. And so when I finally visited home, um, I was gone for about 2 months, and when I came back to here in the East Coast, that's when I was like starting to feel like slight bouts of homesickness because going back home and like seeing all the places that I used to frequent, it was kind of how do I put it? Like oh yeah, I used to go there I used to like just walk down to that grocery store or um being able to see like all of my friends back home coming back here to while yes, there are those times where the people here do make me feel welcome, but it's also you can't help but reminisce on sort of the ones that's not necessarily left behind, but said a long farewell for. So for I guess that's like touching on the mental and even emotional. Um, how about the material needs? One of the comments here says, first of all, is it really necessary to consider living on your own? And then they said to consider finances and mental and emotional capacity. So one side of the whole moving out, I guess one side of the argument to move out would be sort of like a change of scenery, or like as what Nathan kind of mentioned is he got a new job. In the case of Melvi, that we went to Sac State. I guess what is like what would you consider to be necessary?
That's kind of a tough question.
It's all
But
very
if
like
what yeah, no,
individual. Yeah.
it encompasses a lot of things. But let's say with Nate, he has a job opportunity. So of course, if I was in that predicament as well, I would jump aboard and actually do it and move if I'm given that opportunity. Because you already have something that you're looking forward to. It's not like you're going there with nothing. You're going there with something. So when you're already either financially stable or if it's for a job or seeking other opportunities, as long as you're ready, the financial matters, the mental matters, go experience life. Because you can't You can't hold yourself back just because you say, "Oh, I'm 50-50 about this." But you have, like what you mentioned earlier, Lionel, you already have the resources. You may not know a lot of people, or you may not know anyone at all, but you get to experience life. It's what's going to give us a possibility of amplifying not only our individual selves, but furthermore, our experiences when it comes to life. And that's what life's experiences was all about in the first place. Now, if we're still young, for example, you're still young, you've just freshly graduated from high school. Don't think that right away you can go out there and just go wherever you want, because even let's say your parents or our parents are willing to help us with their resources, they too have their own limitations. So unless we're willing to take on, which of course I've done also in the past, 1 2 jobs while going to school full time and support yourself, then by all means, maybe you would be willing to try it. But if you're not willing to give yourself an opportunity for a chance to grow, then you won't know. But you'll also know when you're ready. When you're not ready because you have that conscience within you, I think maybe most of us experience this at some point in our lives where we'll say, I don't think I can do this yet. Yet. We have that word yet, right? And so then we give ourselves time to kind of give us that courage and more experience. That way, whatever happens in our lives and whatever experiences we'll face, we're ready for it. So it really depends on our situation, unless you have other experiences other than what I've mentioned, either Nate or Lionel.
I
See,
think
with
you'd
me,
ask like some of the material things you should get when you first move away. I would say get a good bed. So coming from experience, when I first moved away, I had like a one of those inflatable beds, and they're decently comfy, but they do deflate on their own. So just keep that in mind. And funny enough, a few months after I moved away from home and was living on my own in Houston, Houston got hit by like one of the worst hurricanes, and it shut down that city for a good month. And so, yeah, after like 3 days, that bed completely deflated. So I was like sleeping on hard floor, with no air conditioning because the power was out also for a month. So, yeah, one of the things I did once the stores started opening back up was buy like a decent bed, because having good sleep, quality sleep, really does affect a lot of other things in your life. So I would say, yeah, if you're living out on your own, make sure you can get really good sleep. Because I know when I was trying to get this job up here in Fort Worth, it took me a while to find a room to rent out. And I was able to rent out, stay in hotels, only so many times before, like, okay, I don't have any money to stay in a hotel and end up like sleeping in your car at like a rest area. Um, and you get like really terrible sleep, and you're going to be really, really miserable like all day long. You get bad sleep, and your whole day can be ruined. So that's what I would recommend. Really, really try to make sure you can get some really good sleep when you're living on your own.
Yeah, I think when I first moved, I was basically sleeping on sheets. Fortunately, I was able to crash um, in someone's living room that they were fortunate enough to sort of like cordon off an area for me. Um, but yes, I did have like one of those inflatable air mattresses. But what I found out is come morning, like when you inflate it up at night, it's nice and firm. But then as soon as when you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning, it's like half deflated. Your back's all twisted whichever way, and your foot's there, but your head's here, and the other foot's some other place. That's when I was like, okay, I think it might actually be more comfortable to just sleep on the floor. So what I did was I put like 2 layers of comforters on top of each other, and that was actually much more comfortable than and then airbed. Um, I guess it kind of really puts into perspective when you first move out, like all the things that you, I guess, took for granted or kind of just found annoying at first. Like, actually, there's a comment here saying that from Melanie saying, when I moved out of my parents' house, I developed a greater appreciation for things I took for granted when I was living with them. For example, my mom slash dad's cooking. More importantly, you miss their company and the little things that seemed annoying at the time, especially if you have siblings. Now, that is something that I did notice. And I think we did touch on that a little before, is I guess being a bit lonely. Like when you wake up and you go out to like the living room or when you leave the room, it's just there's no one there. And that's I guess for me when I first moved when since it is my first time moving out and sort of living on my own, it was kind of that's when like the loneliness started to like sit in. Like I was like, okay, I kind of I kind of like do miss the company. It's something that I guess the for lack of a better term, it's kind of like felt a bit empty, hollow. And so, but fortunately enough, when I first moved here, um, my roommate invited me over to, I guess, like a volleyball tournament that we were having, and I love volleyball, and I was able to make a few more friends, and it felt a lot less lonely seeing like all the brethren in one place for an activity. Um, I guess that's one of the like misconceptions that people might have for for moving out and living on their own is like while yes you do get the freedom to like choose your schedule, you get the freedom to just do whatever you want, um but sometimes when you are looking for something to do, like you've run out of your your wish list of things that you wanted to do while you were still not living on your own. It kind of like there's like
I
no
can
real like any like catalyst for like, hey, I just want to go out of my room but not out of my place of living to talk to someone.
I can imagine that, Lionel. Like, like for me, of course, not still not living on my own. Like, I have my list of things like, oh, like when I move out, like I can finally do this, kind of do that. Like I can experience this, I can experience, that. But I feel like once those things run out, I feel like that's when it'll like really set in for me. that oh, like that's it. Like, that's the, I feel like that's when the reality will set in for me. So I'm trying not to get carried away, by the excitement of, like kind of like the label of, oh, I'm able to take care of myself, like I'm trying not to let that, the excitement of that label, uh, be sort of like my catalyst to just charge head on without like really considering what was said earlier, right? Like I think it was Renz who said that in the live chat, like, is it really necessary? you know like, and of course, like hearing your guys answers, like how ready am I actually to face like the challenges of like living by myself. So I came into this topic kind of like thinking, I'll be jotting down notes to just see what I need to prepare for if like if and when the time comes. But now I'm like I'm seeing that there's a lot more to consider than just like preparing uh like the material things that I would need to before moving out. Yeah.
Hmm. If anything, I think this broadcast is for you, AJ.
I
for
would
your
say
future?
I'm really enjoying listening to the conversation. But
Okay, if I can give like one thing that's a misconception is how much furniture costs. Like, yes, I've been to IKEA and I've seen those prices. I'm like, okay, but that's like IKEA. If you go to like other places, like in the department store, uh, I didn't realize how much furniture costs. Like at
how
least the brand new ones, because like you go to the store and you're like, you don't really pay attention to that because you're already in like a fully furnished home.
I
But
thought
then when you move out on your own
mm.
and you like start looking for furniture, like a couch costs how much?
I mean, I'm
This
pretty
is
sure
where
all the
secondhand comes in handy because
mm,
my first couch I bought for $100 off my friend. So
mm.
uh, it is nice to buy like the new stuff and like go to the store and buy stuff. But like when you're starting out, uh,
Secondhand, even
don't
third
don't
or
don't
fourth hand.
yeah, don't count out, the secondhand furniture, especially, especially like friends are all the time are trying to, get rid of furniture. So it does help,
I
especially
know,
when you want to buy a TV and a game console.
I know here, like in the Midwest, we have some secondhand furniture stores that, yeah, you can probably get like maybe a couch, a table, or something for like yeah, 100 something dollars. Like if you have $100 or something, you can probably get something from there. But I do want to ask you guys, like since you've experienced this, like what's like speaking of furniture, what's like the first thing that you should probably get?
Well, Nate already mentioned a bed.
Yeah. Although guys, we can do the couch because the couch will double as the bed. Like
Mm,
most guys are fine. Yeah.
being smart with our money.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm imagining, just an empty room, just like a couch and then a TV on the floor.
That was
Sometimes that's
me. That
all
was
we
me
really
living on my
need.
own. That's
Sometimes
all I
that's all we
needed.
really need to start out.
That's all I needed. I had all the space in the world. No clutter. That was
Yep.
nice.
And the
But it
cheap
wasn't nice for
particle
quiet
board
time,
table.
right? Horrible cable, yes, that too. I was on the floor most of the time. I had a bed that was barely a bed, and then a small couch, small TV, but I was mostly on the floor doing whatever I need to do. For
Well, like
some reason, I find it more comfortable.
I had friends and family like they would just give me things. Like my family when they came and visit me, they brought a bunch of stuff. They brought a futon, they brought some, old furniture. And then I had other friends say like, oh, here's a computer desk that we're not using anymore. So yeah, that's where it helps, like, taking advantage of like your network that you have. And I remember at first, like, I didn't want to take anything from my parents, but those hand me downs, even though they were ugly and, very used and they were very mismatched, like they do help you get by before you can actually replace it with better things. So I mean, that's just my attitude. I know some others, they don't want anything handed down or anything they don't actually like. So that's really up to, your own personal preference.
I would say I won't be a chooser. Like if someone's, I feel like I'm the kind of person who's just like, even if I don't need it, if someone's giving it to me, I'll take it. I'll keep it in storage because I have that feeling of I might need it later, or I might have some use for it later.
Oh yeah, just like the things that you could sorry, something that you could use later. Food containers from takeout. I've seen people throw those out and like a little piece of the inside dies and like you could have washed that and reused it and saved money somewhere else to use somewhere else. Yeah. Speaking of furniture, one of the things that um, I've seen a lot recently is the furniture that can like have multiple purposes. Or like I I saw this ad for a table. This is not an ad. I'm just saying I saw an ad. Uh, a table that can transform from just like a little bench to like a 30 people long like 30 people capacity table that can like
I
stretch
think I
out.
saw that same ad. I know that I can picture what you're talking about. I think I saw that ad too.
And like as soon as I saw that, I started going down like this rabbit hole of like space saving furniture. Like there was one that had like a cube, but each side was a different chair. Like those, just like the ingenuity and the engineering that goes into trying to find ways to save space is just boggles my mind. Like there's another one where, what was it? Like it's a shelf, but that can kind of rotate into a table, like a flush table.
You know, those things are really cool, but when you get married, those are like the first things your wife's gonna throw out.
Oh, I
Like I'm
can
hearing you,
imagine.
and I'm
She's
like,
oh my gosh,
yeah.
this looks so nice.
I'm like, yeah, I want the table that opens up and turns into a big table. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That sounds really cool. I want the cabinet that turns into whatever. But yeah, women don't think that way. They want nice stuff. They
I
end up
would say
throwing that out.
this is just my theory on that. I feel like when we find something cool, even if it doesn't match any of the other furniture, we'll get it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like so, you just have this mishmash of like different styles of furniture, and, and nothing just gels with each other. It's just like because you found it cool, right? Like, oh yeah, this shelf turns into a table. It doesn't really match the computer table. It doesn't match the center table, but it's cool.
All right,
Yeah,
I
I have
see
a lot
one
of
of the other
thrift
comments
store
say,
stuff that was thrown away by my wife.
No, I mean the live chat saying, "Why are you exposing?" I think that's
Yeah, that's my wife.
oh, so one of the actual other comments saying a rice cooker would be their best buy. Get that rice locked in. Yes, a rice cooker.
you're talking about. Oh, sorry. That you were when you're talking about. It just reminded me because you were talking about cooking earlier. I feel like, uh, tell me if this is like a smart thing to do or or not. I'm thinking of just getting like like a crock pot and just because like what the thing with it is just you just throw in the ingredients, you plug
Mhm.
it in and you just let it cook the food. I feel like I can serve like I can survive like with that like a rice cooker and a crock pot like not really.
Okay, I have an idea for you. You could um, pressure cooker, because back home in California, we would use that to, one, you can cook rice in there, and two, what my mom would do would use it like a crock pot and like turn it on without putting the lid on
Mhm.
and just have it heat up and then just start. I think she was able to cook like adobo or something in there. So I guess like trying to find appliances that has multiple uses.
Mhm. That was the idea with that like that idea. I was like, I think I can survive with just those two, like a rice cooker and like a crock pot slash pressure cooker. I was like, I think I can survive with just that. Like I don't even need like to cook by myself. Because I'm with you, Lionel, that I feel like it'll take me a longer than the recommended or than the like the stated cook time. I feel like it would take me longer. So just to save time, space.
See, I have a slow cooker, and whenever I make like if I prep meals for like the week, like that mushy food gets old by like the third day. You'd be like, all right, I don't want to eat this. I don't want to eat mushy food anymore. Like it's good, and then you're just like, this is just like slop every day now. That's what it turns into. So yeah,
Unfortunately,
they're nice and convenient, but I wouldn't say like, oh, I could just buy this and I'll be set for life. I would recommend cast iron though. Get a cast iron pan. Those things will last forever. You can't really destroy it. So let's say you just absolutely bake in whatever food into that. I mean, you could scrub it and then you can just re-season it and it's good to go. So I highly recommend cast iron. It's really durable. Or like the stainless steel pans, I would get those. I have not had good luck with Teflon pans. So
Oh, I've been
the
told to stay away from Teflon pans.
yeah, and they always flake on me. But you get a stainless steel pan. I'd probably get that first, and then get a cast iron. Those will last you forever because with the metal you can just scrub it like crazy, and it's good to go. So I still got all my cast iron and metal pans that I bought like 15 years ago. So that's what I recommend. All that other stuff, the nonstick stuff, yeah, those are long gone, and I never bought them again.
Brian's in live chat. He said air fryer.
Yeah, and
Getting
I see Tony in the chat saying cast iron versus air fryer. Hmm.
You know what? Speaking of multi-use things, and this is what I did. I found out that they sell microwaves that also double as air fryers. That's what I
Yeah,
got.
they have
Yeah.
that. They have one of those at work. I was like, they do that?
Yeah. So even though I only use it maybe once every, 6 months, it's still pretty cool. It'd be like, yeah, I got a air fryer and a microwave built into one. So that's how our minds work. It's like, how many things can I get for this one thing? That's why men, we have like the 6-in-1 shampoo, right? It's like body wash,
21
shampoo,
one shampoo.
The 21
yeah,
in one where you
toothpaste,
can wash.
condiment. It's everything is in that. It's like this has everything I need in this one bottle.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I have been told off by most of my female friends and some of my guy friends not to use like the 21 in one. But it's like, one, it's cost effective. Two, it's space effective. It's only one bottle. And like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
just jealous that
they're
you
just jealous.
you solved 21 problems with one thing.
It just makes sense, right? Like logically, it just makes sense. Like you're saving, like you said, like you're saving space. You're saving cost. Like it works. It works for everything.
Yeah.
remember, yeah, I remember using hand wash as a face wash. 'Cause I was like, if it can clean my hands, it can clean my face. And it's cheaper.
Just don't use anything other than dishwashing liquid for the dishwasher. Don't use anything other than the stuff meant for it, because I found out if you put dishwashing soap, that thing is going to bubble up so badly. It's going to overflow with bubbles. That's how bad it gets. So if with the dishwasher, you can't use the 21 in one. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. You got to use the specific one, unfortunately. Same with the laundry. Don't put any other soap than laundry soap. Learn from my mistakes.
Noted. I do not want to have a bubble bath in my living room. I see someone in the chat, Melanie. I think you said that that's your wife. He just says somehow guy's hair looks and feels better. LOL, not fair. No, it's low maintenance. I think that's sort of the vibe that um I think a lesson for those who would be starting out living on their own for the first time is really trying to find like low maintenance stuff, and then even like the cheap, probably start out with the cheap stuff. So in that way, you'd be able to learn more how to take care of the things as you sort of make your way up the tiers of quality. Now, um, I know that we are a bit short on time, and I did want to give time for shout outs for, I guess, Nate, EJ, if you guys have any shout outs you want to give.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my wife there in the chat, especially for putting up with my 21 in one shampoo, conditioner, etc.
Face and body wash, car wash, dishwasher. But yes, shout outs. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to everyone there in our live chat, I saw my parents there as well. So I know it's kind of late here, but thankful for them for tuning in. Thankful for them for also helping me helping me prepare for like the eventuality of like me solo living at some point in my life.
Yeah, I would like to personally shout out my parents for teaching me everything that I know, especially with making me do all the chores around the house, so that way, when I am, so that way when I eventually moved out on my own, I'd be able to survive. Shout out to them. Shout out to the ones that make places feel like home away from home. Our roommates, our friends, our loved ones, especially our relatives. Um, you'll real you'll soon realize how small the world really is. I would like to thank my co-panelists for joining me today, Nate, EJ, uh, as well as those that are there in the live chat. Thank you for joining us today in our conversation and for sharing your thoughts. Um, Thank you all for tuning in, and we hope that this has been a conversation that has mattered to you. So please take your time to comment and let us know what conversation you want to hear us talk about in the future. Now, that is all for INC Radio Chatline. Until next time, bye.
Always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I breathe my last.
Finally, school's over.
Yo, Andre, let's play that new game.
I have a test coming up tomorrow. I should probably study, but I've been really excited to play that new game. What should I do?
We missed you on the game yesterday. How'd the test go though?
Really well, actually. Gotta make smart choices, you know?
And that's the value of making the right and smart choices while we're still young. It's also a matter of self-discipline.